This ceremony has been described, not by me, but people that said his emotions are all over the place today as you hear these citations. It's been described as the joy of a wedding and the solemnity of a memorial service. So again, you're kind of all over the place. I hope you brought handkerchiefs and tissues, folks. At this time, I will turn it over to Colonel Thompson, and he will begin the formality of the ceremony.
First inductee, Bobby Ray Bagley, Valor. United States Air Force Colonel retired Bobby Bagley of Cumming, Georgia, was commissioned as a second lieutenant and was awarded his pilot wings in June 1954. Following numerous assignments as a reconnaissance pilot, then Major Bagley volunteered to fly combat missions over North Vietnam. On 16 September 1967, he was assigned as a wingman in a flight of two unarmed and unescorted RF-101 reconnaissance aircraft on a post-strike mission. Upon egress, his aircraft hit by ground-to-air missiles, completely disabling all of the controls and consuming it in fire. While attempting to maintain control of the aircraft and losing altitude rapidly, Major Bagley still managed to provide his flight leader missile warning information. Prior to his aircraft crashing into the side of a mountain, he ejected over enemy territory and was subsequently captured by North Vietnamese forces. Major Bagley would spend the next 6 years as a prisoner of war in the infamous Hanoi Hilton until his release on 14 March 1973 during Operation Homecoming. For his gallantry against an enemy force, he was awarded 2 Silver Stars, one for the post-strike photographic reconnaissance mission and the other while a prisoner of war. His second Silver Star citation reads as follows: Major Bobby Bagley distinguished himself by gallantry and intrepidity in action in connection with military operations against an opposing armed force while a prisoner of war in North Vietnam. Ignoring international agreements on treatment of prisoners of war, the enemy resorted to mental and physical cruelties to obtain information, confessions, and propaganda materials. This American resisted their demands by calling upon his deepest inner strength in a manner which reflected his devotion to duty and great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. After being released, Colonel Bagley would continue his selfless service during numerous assignments and completed his duty at Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, retiring on 26 November 1981. Accepting on behalf of Colonel Bagley is his cousin, U.S. Army Colonel retired Chris Bagley. John Charles Bonson, Jr., Valley. U.S. Army Brigadier General retired John Charles Doc Bonson of Rochelle, Georgia, was commissioned in 1956 upon graduation from West Point. He served 2 tours in Vietnam as a gunship platoon leader troop commander, and squadron commander. Notably, he commanded a squadron at the rank of major and was the only officer to do so during the Vietnam War. Doc Bonson was awarded 18 times for valor and was described by his regiment commander, Colonel George S. Patton IV, as one of the rare professionals who truly enjoys fighting, taking risks, and sparring with a wily foe. His highest decoration for valor is the Distinguished Service Cross, which he received on 23 January, taking the enemy under fire and forcing them into a confined area. He marked their position and directed 5 airstrikes, while at the same time directing four separate rifle platoons. Intense enemy fire crippled his aircraft, forcing him to acquire yet another one. On his return, he landed to guide in his lift ships and led a rifle platoon through dense terrain to personally capture the enemy attempting to escape. Brigadier General Bonson passed away 21 February 2024 at his family farm, and as per his wishes, his ashes were placed in an ammo box and buried at the farm. Accepting on behalf of Brigadier General Bonson is his widow, Lieutenant Colonel retired Peggy Bonson. Our next inductee, Robert Paul Barkley, Valor. United States Army Colonel retired Robert Barkley of Dahlonega, Georgia, entered active duty in 1968 after graduation and commissioning from North Georgia College. His extraordinary courage on 18 February 1970 in combat under intense enemy fire exemplifies his ideals of a combat leader and reflects the unwavering commitment to that duty that defines our nation's most honored veterans. While assigned to E Company, 27th Infantry, 25th Infantry Division, Republic of Vietnam, as the executive officer, Lieutenant Barkley's unit came under intense hostile fire while on a reconnaissance mission. His heroic actions that day resulted in him being awarded our nation's third highest award for valor, the Silver Star. This citation reads, First Lieutenant Barkley distinguished himself while serving as the executive officer. While on a reconnaissance operation, elements of Company E came in contact with a small enemy force. Under covering fire from the rest of the platoon, Lieutenant Barkley, with complete disregard for his own safety, crawled to the enemy position to silence it with grenades. As he neared the emplacement, the enemy soldiers hurled a grenade which landed within 2 feet of him, failing to explode. Ignoring the possibility that the grenade could explode from the slightest movement, Lieutenant Barkley crawled past the grenade and hurled 2 of his own grenades into the enemy position, silencing the insurgents. His valorous actions contributed immeasurably to the success of the mission and are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service. Colonel Barkley went on to serve for 25 more years in various command and staff assignments at both the operational and strategic levels. He culminated his career in 1995, where he began it, while serving as Commandant and Professor of Military Science at the University of North Georgia, instructing and mentoring future Army officers. Accepting on behalf of Colonel Retired Barkley is his widow, Mrs. Linda Barkley. Inductee Michael Hart Boyce Service. United States Marine Corps Colonel Retired Michael Boyce of Marietta, Georgia, received his commission upon graduating from the University of Notre Dame. He was a veteran of 30 years of selfless service as a Marine Corps aviator and embassy attaché with tours in Southeast Asia, Somalia, Kuwait, Iraq, and several foreign embassies. He was the recipient of numerous defense, armed forces, and expeditionary medals, and he received special recognition from several foreign governments. The U.S. Ambassador to Oman, Francis Cook, once remarked, Mike was a superb leader to all four branches assigned in the embassy, but he was also something rarer at the Department of Defense. He was a natural diplomat. Transitioning out of uniform, those talents served him well in the civilian sector, where he did not stop serving his country and his community. For the next 21 years, Mike immersed himself into community service, becoming an active member and taking on leadership roles in several veteran, civilian, and church organizations. He was elected as Cobb County Commissioner Chairman in 2016, for which he served a population of 780,000 and spearheaded the opening of the first Georgia Department of Veterans Service Center in the county. He used his platform to bolster veteran causes and to ensure every veteran he came in contact with received the necessary benefits and medical care accorded to them. Mike was often seen personally accompanying disabled veterans to the Atlanta Veterans Affairs Center during medical appointments. He was a member of American Legion Post 29, life member of Marine Corps League, veteran of foreign wars, Disabled American Veterans, and the Military Officers Association of America. Subsequent to Colonel Boyce's untimely death, while attending the Inspired Leadership Initiative at his alma mater, Notre Dame, the university's McKenna Center established the annual Michael H. Boyce Award, which recognizes emerging entrepreneurs from adverse circumstances who embody the values that define his extraordinary life. Accepting on behalf of Colonel Retired Boyce is his widow, Mrs. Judy Boyce. Our next inductee, Robert George Coleman II, valor. United States Air Force Colonel retired Robert Bob Coleman II of Athens, Georgia, graduated and was commissioned from the Citadel in 1966. During his 27-plus year career, he had 19 assignments worldwide, plus 2 combat assignments in Vietnam and Desert Shield and Storm. Colonel Coleman accumulated more than 5,500 flying hours time, including 497 combat missions. As an F-100 flight leader in Vietnam, he was awarded 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses for multiple missions that prevented enemy forces from overrunning friendly positions. One of these missions occurred on 7 August 1970 when friendly units near Cam Duck Special Forces Camp came under intense hostile fire during patrol operations. Despite several challenges with communications, rugged mountain terrain, and marginal weather conditions, then Captain Coleman conducted several low-level attack runs on the opposing force that were quickly outmaneuvering friendly forces. The precision low-level drops were of great risk to not only himself, but friendly forces on the ground. Captain Coleman's expert airmanship provided precision suppression of enemy forces and enabled friendly forces to continue their mission. His second Distinguished Flying Cross was awarded just 1 month later when he made repeated low-level attack runs near Pleiku Air Base under the same difficult conditions with weather and terrain. Adding to the danger and complexity, this mission was conducted at night. Despite hostile ground fire and the decision not to use flares for illumination, Captain Coleman accurately delivered all of his ordnance, resulting in the complete destruction of his assigned target. He went on to serve several operational and strategic assignments, retiring at the rank of colonel. Colonel Coleman is a lifetime member of the Air Force Association, Military Officers Association, Vietnam Vets of America, Citadel Alumni Association, the Super Sabre Society, the Distinguished Flying Cross Society, the Air Medal Society, and the Order of the Dedalians. Our next inductee, Thomas Jefferson Courtney, Jr., valor. U.S. Army Sergeant Major retired, Thomas Courtney, Jr. of Fayetteville, Georgia, entered active duty in 1950 and served in the Korean and Vietnam Wars. He was schooled in the armor and infantry branches and completed Special Forces qualification in 1961. Sergeant Major Courtney received a commission as a second lieutenant in 1966 and deployed to Vietnam, where he served as an infantry platoon leader and company commander. While assigned to Company B, 2nd Battalion, 502nd Infantry, 101st Airborne Division, then 1st Lieutenant Courtney's company prepared to move from a landing zone after an air mobile insertion when his unit was attacked by a North Vietnamese Army battalion. He was instructed to maneuver his platoon to a portion of a hastily constructed perimeter to assist another platoon that had received the brunt of the attack. His valorous actions to follow resulted in him being awarded the Silver Star. A portion of his award citation reads, Without concern for his own safety, Lieutenant Courtney stood up, exposing himself to withering fire, and calmly threw 2 grenades into a machine gun position, which badly damaged the gun and killed 2 enemy soldiers. The enemy battalion then began attempting a flanking maneuver. Observing this, Lieutenant Courtney, with no regard for his own safety, picked up a machine gun and moved through devastating enemy and friendly fire, completely exposed. He engaged the flanking enemy from a position well forward of his own unit's perimeter, and his effective fires forced the enemy to withdraw, leaving several dead and wounded. His aggressive spirit and courageous actions rallied the men in both platoons and were instrumental in the ultimate victory over a numerically superior enemy force. Lieutenant Courtney went on to receive 2 Bronze Stars with V devices in the following months, during which he courageously and effectively led, maneuvered, and directed artillery forces against the enemy. After Vietnam, he was part of the Army's reduction in force, reverting back to Master Sergeant and ultimately retiring as a Sergeant Major in 1983. Accepting on behalf of Sergeant Major retired Courtney is his son, Mr. John Courtney. Our next inductee, Charles James Davis Ballard. United States Marine Corps Private First Class retired Charlie Davis of Fort Valley, Georgia, enlisted in 1951 in Atlanta, Georgia, and after attending basic training, deployed to the Korean War. While assigned to 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, 1st Marine Division Reinforced, PFC Davis displayed undaunted courage while on combat patrols serving as point man. His actions earned him our nation's 3rd highest award for valor, the Silver Star. His citation reads as follows: for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity while serving with Company C, 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, in actions against enemy aggressor forces in Korea on January 14th and 15th, 1953. Serving as point of a combat patrol, advancing within 10 yards of a strongly defended enemy position when his patrol leader fell mortally wounded. PFC Davis, although painfully wounded himself, unhesitatingly crawled forward through intense hostile automatic weapons and grenade fire in an attempt to cover his fallen leader. Braving the heavy enemy barrage, he set up effective covering fire for the withdrawal of other wounded Marines and remained in an exposed position until his weapon was blown from his hands by an enemy grenade. Although wounded a second time, he refused to be evacuated while continuing to provide covering fires and also assist in moving his wounded comrades to a more protected position. Upon the arrival of a medical corpsman, he remained in the devastated area until all the casualties were evacuated and subsequently walked back to the main line without any medical assistance. By his outstanding courage, initiative, and selfless efforts on behalf of others, PFC Davis served to inspire all who observed him and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service and the United States of America. After redeploying back to the United States, PFC Davis was medically retired but continued to serve others through public service for 43 years in Coral Gables, Florida, where he retired as the Public Services Director. Due to health issues, Mr. Davis cannot be with us today, but he has requested a short video be shown expressing his sincere appreciation and accepting on behalf of PFC Davis is his son, U.S. Army veteran Charlie James Davis, Jr. Cue the video.
Thank you very much for honoring me. This is Charlie J. Davis, Fort Valley, Georgia, and God bless you for honoring me in the name of Jesus. And I want to say I appreciate it, and my family appreciates it, and we all love you, the United States Marine Corps. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Ernest Hamer Ballard. United States Army Major retired Martin Mike Hamer of Sandy Springs, Georgia, entered active duty in July 1962. In March 1967, then Captain Hamer assumed command of B Company, 3rd Battalion, 12th Infantry, 4th Infantry Division in Phu Yen, Vietnam. During operations in the Central Highlands in western Pleiku, Captain Hamer led his company through dense, remote jungle to provide reinforcements for units in contact with North Vietnamese regulars. During this treacherous movement, his unit encountered heavy enemy resistance, suffering nearly 70% casualties, but ultimately accomplishing their mission. For his courageous actions and unwavering leadership, Captain Hamer was awarded 2 Bronze Star with V devices during this extended combat operation. The first occurring on 22 May 1967, when his company's defensive position began to receive heavy fire from a large enemy force utilizing rockets, mortars, recoilless rifles, and automatic weapons. Although wounded during the battle, Captain Hamer refused to be evacuated. Instead, he remained with his unit, exposing himself repeatedly to any enemy fire while directing fires and providing guidance to his troops. In the end, the enemy was forced to break contact and withdraw. The second engagement came just 2 days later when he was leading his company into a night defensive position. Again, heavy enemy contact was made with the North Vietnamese Infantry Battalion. Disregarding his own safety, Captain Hamer continually exposed himself to enemy fire while organizing and directing his unit's defensive positions. He coordinated artillery and airstrikes with such extreme precision the enemy's advance was abruptly halted and their efforts to overrun the company's position was prevented. When an ammunition resupply was needed during the heat of the battle, Captain Hamer moved into plain sight of the enemy to direct the airdrop. His personal bravery and unflappable demeanor during the most intense moments proved to be a decisive factor in his company reaching their objective and accomplishing their mission. Our next inductee, James Ronald Helmley, Achievement. United States Army Lieutenant General retired James Helmley of Jackson, Georgia, enlisted in 1966 and subsequently graduated from Officer Candidate School at Fort Benning, Georgia. After serving 2 tours in Vietnam with the 101st Airborne Division, during which he earned the Bronze Star with V device, he left active duty and earned a Bachelor of Arts from New York State University. He began his civilian career at Forces Command in plans and operations, working on force structure projects designed to improve the National Guard and Reserve Forces. Desiring to put the uniform back on, Lieutenant General Helmley joined the Army Reserves and sought the toughest of staff and command positions, such as Chief of Supply and Services and Battalion and Group Commands. In 1995, he was promoted to Brigadier General and called to active duty as the Deputy Chief of Army Reserves at the Pentagon. Concurrently, he led the Army Reserve Center in St. Louis, Missouri, and from 1995 to 1997 was assigned the additional responsibility of Army Reserve Chief Information Officer. Continuing on active duty, he commanded the Joint Task Force 350 during Operation Provide Refuge to resettle Albanian refugees. He was then assigned to the office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army, where he oversaw and directed a study on Army management. In 2000 and 2001, he was promoted to Major General and assumed command of the 78th Division Training Support in New Jersey. In 2002, Lieutenant General Helmley received his 3rd star and assumed duties as the Chief Army Reserves and Commanding General, U.S. Army Reserve Command. He led the reserves through a period of massive transformation, making it a more effective as a total force multiplier. In June 2006, Lieutenant General Helmley was assigned as the senior U.S. Defense Representative to Pakistan in the U.S. Embassy, with oversight of all U.S. military activities and working in tandem with U.S. and allied forces in Afghanistan. Lieutenant General Helmley retired from active service in 2008, leaving an indelible mark on the units and people he led throughout his 42 years of military service. Our next inductee, James Bunnell Gerard, Achievement. United States Army Lieutenant General retired James Jamie Gerard of Gainesville, Georgia, graduated and received his commission from North Georgia College in 1988. From the outset, his career was marked by a deliberate pursuit of challenging assignments, each designed to maximize his impact on critical national security objectives. As an infantry officer, he served as a company grade officer in various infantry units, including the 75th Ranger Regiment, eventually volunteering and successfully assessing for service in 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment, Delta, in 1997. For over a decade, Lieutenant General Gerard served as a pivotal leader Our next inductee, James Elton Seahorn, Valley. United States Air Force Brigadier General retired James Jim Seahorn of Warner Robins, Georgia, graduated and received his commission from Oregon State University in 1963. Following flight training and qualifying in the F-100 and F-105 fighter jets, he deployed to Korat, Royal Thai Air Force Base, Thailand, 1963. Following flight training and qualifying in the F-100 and F-105 fighter jets, he deployed to Korat, Royal Thai Air Force Base, Thailand, with the 469th Tactical Fighter Squadron. In November 1969, he was forced to eject his stricken F-105 as a result of intense hostile surface-to-air fires over North Vietnam and was subsequently captured. After enduring an unspeakable conditions as a prisoner of war for 1,917 days, he was released during Operation Homecoming on March 14, 1973, and subsequently awarded our nation's third highest award for valor, the Silver Star. The citation reads, "The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Silver Star to Major James Elton Seahorn, United States Air Force, for gallantry and intrepidity in action in connection with military operations against an opposing armed force on 19 December 1967, while a prisoner of war in North Vietnam. Ignoring international agreements on treatments of prisoners of war, the enemy resorted to mental and physical cruelties to obtain information, confessions, and propaganda materials. Major Seahorn resisted their demands by calling upon his deepest inner strengths in a manner which reflected his devotion to duty and great credit upon himself in the United States Air Force. After recuperating from his injuries, then Major Seahorn, filled with the indomitable spirit of service above self, continued serving our nation as a C-141 Starlifter pilot at Travis Air Force Base, California, until he left active duty and joined the Air Force Reserves in 1976. Brigadier General Seahorn's final assignment was as Director of Operations for the U.S. Air Force Reserve at Dobbins Air Force Base until his retirement in 1994. In January 2003, he served as the first Inspector General of the state of Georgia. Welcome home, sir. Our next inductee, Michael Dane Still, Valley. United States Army Colonel retired Michael Still of Statham, Georgia, received his commission through the University of Georgia ROTC program, where he graduated as a scholar athlete and subsequently earned 2 master's degrees during his 29 years of service. From platoon leader to brigade commander, he led warriors in combat in Panama, Bosnia, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Most notably was his command of a ranger company during Operation Gothic Serpent in Mogadishu, Somalia. On October 3, 1993, then Captain Still commanded Bravo Company of the 3rd Ranger Battalion on the mission made famous by the book and movie Black Hawk Down. Nearly 18 hours of brutal combat followed. Under heavy enemy fire, he fast roped into the target area. Surrounded, outnumbered, and running low on ammunition at times, he organized a perimeter defense that provided his Rangers field of fire that were the most effective given the dense urban surroundings. Captain Still directed close air support from helicopters whose effective fires not only deterred enemy surgeons, but were sometimes within several feet of his perimeter, but also enabled him to coordinate the evacuation of the dead and wounded. His courageous leadership and decisive actions during one of the most intense urban fights in modern military history resulted in him being awarded the Silver Star. Colonel Still continued to serve for more than 20 years after his deployment to Somalia. His last assignment prior to retiring was Commander 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. While deployed to Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom, his unit received the 2006 U.S. CENTCOM Outstanding Anti-Terrorism Action Award. Today, from his home in North Georgia, Colonel Retired Steele continues to serve veterans and mentor law enforcement agencies across the United States, as well as Central and South America. Our next inductee, Amy Maud Stevens, service. Dr. Amy Stevens served on active duty in the United States Navy from 1979 to 1990 in several education and training assignments, and subsequently served as a contracting officer, technical representative in the Department of Labor. Since 2012, Dr. Stevens has found her passion through serving and advocating for veterans. As the founder of Georgia Military Women, the largest and most diverse online community of women veterans, she has led that organization to over 5,000 members who have benefited from multiple resources during their transition out of the military and beyond. Her work has had a profound impact on the lives of countless women veterans, helping them overcome challenges such as homelessness, mental health struggles, and the complex adjustments required after leaving the military. Dr. Stevens' work extends far beyond Georgia Military Women, where she remains in private practice as a critical incident trauma counselor and a volunteer disaster mental health manager for the American Red Cross, with 25 years of deployment experience, with her most recent major deployment being the Maui wildfires in August of 2023. Her role in developing and implementing mental health services protocols for the Georgia National Guard was critical to the sustainment of numerous and constant deployments in support of the global war on terror and support the federal agencies. And while these strategic programs benefited the collective force, she remained passionate about providing direct clinical services to individual service members. Through decades of service to country and community, Dr. Amy Stevens continues to embody the values of leadership, compassion, and resilience. Whether in uniform, in the counseling room, or in the field supporting disaster survivors, she has dedicated her life to helping others heal, grow, and thrive. Her work stands as a testament to the enduring impact one individual can have when service is both a profession and a calling. next inductee, Henry Lewis Thompson III, Valor. U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel retired Henry Dick Thompson III of Watkinsville, Georgia, entered active duty in 1968, graduated from several military qualification courses, including Special Forces. In 1969, as a Special Forces lieutenant, he volunteered for the Vietnam War's most dangerous assignment, Military Assistance Command Vietnam Studies and Observation Group, MACV-SOG, in which an estimated 50% of operators were killed in action. There he would take part in the most daring missions for which he would be awarded for valor on multiple occasions. Excerpts from his 2 citations read as follows. First Lieutenant Thompson distinguished himself on 4 May 1969 while volunteering to ride on a medevac mission attempting to recover a downed crew in enemy territory. Fearing that the downed aircraft might explode or be overtaken by the enemy, Lieutenant Thompson borrowed the crew chief's M16 and, without the use of a Swiss seat, rappelled through the jungle canopy from a height of 120 feet. He spent the next 4 hours gathering dead and wounded, rendered first aid, and then blew a hole in the jungle canopy for extraction by jungle penetrator. On 14 and 15 June 1969, serving as team leader for a 6-man reconnaissance team deep in enemy-held territory, the helicopter he was riding in came under enemy fire and lost power about 40 feet above the ground and fell into the tall elephant grass. The helicopter was able to take off again, but leaving Lieutenant Thompson and 2 indigenous members on the ground. The trail helicopter began receiving a heavy volume of fire and could not land. The enemy began to close in on Lieutenant Thompson's position when he called in airstrikes within 20 meters of his men, while simultaneously moving towards the enemy, attempting to capture a prisoner. The enemy fire was too great, so he began extraction efforts, exposing himself to hostile fire while securing each of his indigenous members in McGuire rigs. Thompson was awarded 2 Bronze Stars with V devices and the Air Medal with V device for his courageous actions deep behind enemy lines. Tommy Wayne Wilburn Achievement. U.S. Army Master Sergeant retired Tommy Wilburn of Suches, Georgia, entered active duty in 1981 and during a lifetime of extraordinary sacrifice served in numerous elite special operations units and critical post 9/11 national security roles. In 1982, as a young sergeant with 1st Battalion 75th Ranger Regiment, he executed a combat jump into Grenada during Operation Urgent Fury, during which he braved enemy fire while clearing runway obstacles that allowed follow-on forces to land. While serving as a Ranger instructor and mountaineering team leader from 1985 to 1987, Wilburn displayed that same level of courage off the battlefield during a nighttime rescue of a civilian boy who was injured in the Toluca Gorge. Upon promotion to Staff Sergeant, he volunteered for and successfully assessed for service in 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment, Delta. There he deployed on numerous classified missions across Bosnia, El Salvador, and other global hotspots, and played pivotal roles in combat operations during Operation Just Cause in Panama and Operation Desert Storm in Iraq, where he was awarded multiple times for again executing a myriad of classified missions worldwide and often serving as the senior U.S. military representative, coordinating with various U.S. and foreign agencies in direct support of the National Command Authority. His final active duty assignment brought him back to the Ranger Training Battalion until his retirement in February 2001. However, the events of 9/11 reignited his desire to continue to serve in impactful ways. Master Sergeant retired Wilburn deployed over 16 times with the Counter IED Task Force and subsequently as a charter member of the U.S. Army's Asymmetric Warfare Group in support of the global war on terror.
In unison, let's all say one word that has 3 letters, W-O-W. 1, 2, 3. Wow! I tell you, every year, Paul and I agree that it seems like the class is getting more impressive and more impressive each year. And one more time, just a round of applause for these. One thing I may have failed to mention, this is one of 2 ceremonies each year. The second ceremony, based on the governor's schedule, normally in March, is the, quote, unveiling ceremony. At that ceremony, the citations you just heard John Thompson read, along with the photographs you saw on the screen, will be beautifully, by that time, beautifully framed by the state of Georgia, and will be presented to the governor. And so this is open to the public. There's this about a 1-hour ceremony, very moving again, different from this one. And you're all invited. And so once we hear that specific date, we'll get that word out and invite you to Atlanta, to the state capitol, to the governor's induction, to the governor's unveiling ceremony. And then a day or so later, they're installed in the state capitol. I just want to let you know to be planning for that. Excuse me. We'll have some remarks by Colonel Paul Longbeer, a closing prayer, and then if you will all, please don't get up and start moving around, because what we're going to do is have a group photograph of all the ones that were inducted today and all previous inductees up here front. So that takes a little bit of movement and logistics. We'll have to move the table, we'll have to get some chairs up here, and you're please welcome to stand up and take photographs. But if you would be so kind as to not get into a conversation with the inductee, because we're trying to get them up here. So just trying to be efficient with that if at all possible. At this time, Paul, would you come forward, sir? Paul won't say this, but I will. This gentleman here had a very close call with life and death not long ago, and because of prayer, he is with us today. Thank you, sir.
By the grace of God. By the grace of God. Okay. This is very quick. I know some of you need to use the bathroom. I see you squirming. This will be very quick. One is I am officially turning everything over to Rick and the guys. It belongs to them. If I'm here, I'll be as a guest and just to watch all these heroes get inducted. It's been a great 7 or 8 years. 14. Time flies when you're having fun, I tell you. This is one of the finest things that I ever did was started this thing, and it's been fabulous, wonderful. You saw it today. It's been like that for 14 years. I want to just sum this up very quickly. I'm not even sure why I'm talking, because I don't have anything to say, but I'm going to talk anyhow. Next weekend, I'm going to be at the Alabama Hall of Heroes. One of my men is being inducted. James Moreland was captured and was missing in action for ever since 7 February 1968. We never could find him, and fortunately, we come up with enough proof that they wouldn't take my word for it that he was there, although he was on orders. He'd been there for 6 months when he was captured, when he disappeared. And so that'll be where I am next weekend at Alabama Hall of Honor. And I'll be trying not to compare it because it will not compete with this, I promise you. I'm very fortunate to have served with some great men, like some of these that were mentioned here today, Spec Ops types of guys, berets and a whole 9 yard Ranger tabs. And one of the things that I promised myself when I made it out of Vietnam alive, I promised myself that I would put everybody into a hall of fame that I knew of. And I didn't know how many there were or anything else, but I knew there were some. So very briefly, I had 2 men that were captured in the battle and were POWs. A couple of these guys may recognize the name, I'm not sure, because I know they were separated and stuff. But Dennis Thompson and Gordon Brandy were both POWs for 7 years. And finally, the remains were shipped back. The other one I want to mention, one of the others I want to mention is a guy named Charlie Lindenwald. Charlie Lindenwald and I were out on patrol together. He was my patrolman buddy. He was an A7. He went to Vietnam in 1962. He was still there in 68. Charlie didn't have much of a private life. Wasn't interested in it. Didn't have any children that he claimed or anything like that. We were sitting there one day, and I told him, I said, Charlie, I said, I want you to teach me everything you know. And he looked at me with very dour. He said, how long are you going to be here, Lieutenant? And I was thinking, that's pretty stupid. I want you to teach me everything you know. He'd been there for, at that time, that's February of 68. He had been there 6 years at that time. And had been in all kinds of action, and he was highly regarded as when he was sober. And he invited didn't have any drunk, so he just invited. Charlie and I had a couple of ta-ta-ta-tas. I can get a little hot-headed. We kind of grab hold of each other and hold on to one of them give up. And another guy that I want to mention is Charlie Lindenwald of Indiana. The Indiana Hall of Fame was started by a ROTC classmate of mine who, a guy named Dowd, I say kid, guy named Dowd, we went to high school together, went to college together, and both went to the military. And he started the Arkansas Military Veterans Hall of Fame and had me inducted in the first class. And I was so impressed with some of the people that were there. I had never evaluated what we did. I was in Vietnam. I did what I did. As a young boy, I always played Army, especially robbing banks and stuff like that, the Army. And so I didn't think about it. While I was there, I was very impressed with a couple of the inductees that I saw that I realized had never been acknowledged or honored in any way. And so, on the way home, I told my wife, I'm going to start the Georgia Military Veterans Hall. And so today, we're celebrating that. And I want you to know that every time that we put a fellow or a gal in the Hall of Fame, we're recognizing the the spirit of the United States. We got a lot of issues, a lot of problems, very diverse. But the thing about it is, when it comes time to fight it, we will fight. God bless you. God bless America.